Hello, guys. Hope everybody can hear me okay. Thanks for joining the live stream. We're going to talk about a few things this evening, about competitions, events, and we're going to be covering a few other wee topics about venues and the year ahead. We're going to be talking about players practicing, and we're going to be talking about other things, Tier 4, COVID, other ways of supplementing your income. We're going to be, over the next coming weeks, guys, we're going to be getting guests in from various dynamic areas and fields, some professional players. We're going to get some experts on again to come and co-host with me. And we're going to be talking about a whole range of things, some professional guests, what the pros are like. Not a lot of them are very, very interesting, I mean, some of them should get out of the game really and do something else like paint walls or take jobs, serving beers. I don't know, anything, But I'm going to have Michael Waring join me this evening. I'm going to bring him in, actually, and unmute him. Michael, can you hear me?
I can. Hello.
Very good. Hello. Now, some of you probably know Michael from Snooker Hub, Amateur Snooker. Michael has just affiliated himself with Snooker Life, another social media Facebook page, very, very informative page, lots of information. It's great that he's got himself involved with that group. It's a very good group. It's followed by a lot of people. And like myself, we just share a lot of information and do stuff like this kind of thing, But so, yeah, as I said, Michael will be joining me over the next few months. We're going to try and get ourselves into a routine where we can stick to these little weekly segments where we can talk about snooker and we can talk about the things that you want to talk about. I know I ramble on a little bit, Michael. Sometimes the guys get it, and then sometimes the guests can do all the work. But we're just going to see how it goes. But Michael, it's good to have you as I feel like you're a sidekick, actually. If you don't mind me saying, I mean, I don't mind a sidekick. There's a lot of people would probably rather drop kick you. But I like you. It's okay. I mean, I don't mind you on here because you're a bit of a pundit. You know a little bit about snooker. You can't play snooker, I know that. But at least you're very, very interested, in the people. And that's good.
Yeah, I love it. It's what we do. We do it for them, really, don't we? And we do it for like the youngsters, like Nigel's just joined us for his lad. For people like Stan, Stan's the future, isn't he? So
what a lad, great. He is the future of the game. He's a star. I mean, it's like, as some of you know, we spoke to Stan live a couple of weeks ago, and Stan is like the up and coming thing. He's a great kid. Is he going to turn out to have a horrible temper? Is he going to turn out to be the wild man of snooker in the 2000s? Is he going to be another Alex Higgins? Another Ronnie Sullivan? Well, I hope he's as entertaining as them anyway, But anyway, look, I'm going to get straight in here. Okay, guys, we're just going to talk about the events, right? First topic, talk about the events. I think we've got, some of you who have entered the bigger competition, what you put out there. I want to speak to you all next week about that and just go through what that involves. Obviously because of COVID, because of the lockdown and the restrictions, we can't really set any dates. I can create the events and keep putting dates on them, what have you. We've got a few proms to catch up on, and we'll start these events, but we will start them when we can. Obviously, as soon as the infection rates come down, as soon as we can get this vaccine rolled out, and as soon as we can get the clubs open again, then we can start things. We can get things up and rolling, And it's a bit like everything else, Michael. I mean, the snooker leagues can't do anything because the clubs can't open. We can't socially distance with the league games going on because they're really primarily social events also, for the guys. And there's millions of them all over the country. Junior snooker as well, getting the young guys in. I mean, obviously we can maybe hold some competitions for under 18s in Tier 2. And but you know, again, we have to wait and see. We have to go by the government guidelines in that respect, and we can't do anything. But what I'm going to do, guys, just as regards the first big event, that rolling event that we have is supposed to start this week. I'm going to take the entries for that next week. I'm going to be getting in touch with each of you. 4 of you have already pulled out of that list that I put up there on the Pro Am Snooker page. So that's perfectly understandable. So I'm going to be collecting your entries for that. And those matches will be played over a period of weeks and possibly even months. So there is no rush to finish these events. These events will continue until they're completed. So it may well be the case that I'll have 4 matches per each event, whether it's combined with a Pro-Am or whether it's just combined with just 8 of you turning up at a club and playing 4 matches on 4 match tables, whether it be Northampton or Essex or another designated club. I mean, the venues will be given as options. I mean, if the idea is to accommodate you with a club that is sort of in between your areas and areas where you reside, so you can both go, and I can sort that out. I know enough clubs, I've got enough contacts for us to do that, and the idea is to get a few of you there and get these matches up and running. And so we can't do anything until the government decides to open things up or we get the infection rates down, and it's all sort of up in the air at the moment. So that's all I'm going to say about that, but I will get in touch with all of you about that this week and discuss with each of you about that. If there's any questions, if there's anything you want to ask me, just give me a phone call. You know, don't put anything on up here. You can, guys, if you want to send any questions into myself and Michael, please just send them in. You just send them in now. That's okay. That's fine. If you have any queries about anything, you know. And I think what we're going to do, Michael, I mean, this is a subject that we'll start with, and I think it's probably one of the most important things to talk about today is in terms of access to clubs for players. Now, a lot of my players, a lot of the guys that play in my Pro-Ams are actually full-time snooker players. Michael, they work in clubs. Some of them work in their own clubs, and as much as some of them are on a tour or some of them not on a tour, they're actually full or part-time snooker players. So they're self-employed businessmen. And the question is here, should you have access to a table in a club? Can you have access to that table? Are you breaking government guidelines as to entering that club and practicing on that table? Well, in my view, and we'll come to you, Michael, in my view, you're not. In my view, if you get permission from that snooker club to go about your business, which is practicing snooker, whether you're on the tour or not, if you're aspiring to become a professional snooker player, if you intend to go to Q school, and that is every evidence and every indication that you're going about your business and you're allowed to go to work. So, you know, I'm going to shift over to you on this one, Michael, here, and give you your views on this. And I know we're probably going to disagree, but that's my view. So what do you think?
I don't actually disagree with you a lot there, because I think if somebody is a full-time snooker player, they derive a living from the sport, if you like, and they can. There's nothing. I'm pretty sure. People correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've read in the regulations and the law that says there's nothing to stop a snooker hall, and it actually mentions snooker and pool halls, nothing to stop them opening for elite sports people. Now, I don't mean open like open the doors and open the bars and all that kind of stuff. They can allow people in. You don't even have to own the club or run the club or even work in the club, whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but you can't just let anybody in. And you can't even have anybody practicing with you. You can just not even picking the balls out or anything like that. You're just on your own practicing as an elite sports person. Now the problem when you come to that designation, it's not a matter of opinion. it is laid down there in the legislation about what is an elite sports person. Now that is somebody who derives a living from the sport, and there's another category, if you like, that through the national governing body and all that kind of stuff that's on a development plan. But unfortunately, our snooker's national governing body, as far as England goes anyway, doesn't have anything like that, because Sport England don't recognise that snooker has a national governing body. Sport England don't recognise EPSB as the national governing body. Now that's probably because they're run by the WPBSA, or there's no English representation on the EPSB anymore. I don't know why, but Sport England, they used to classify snooker as a pub game, so they don't really class it as a sport. But so where snooker players fit in as far as elite sports people go, is kind of debatable. It's kind of a matter of opinion. But obviously, like the seniors, because it's being run by the world governing body, the WPBSA, there are professional sports people in it. That's probably how the amateurs can tag on to that. Like the amateurs can actually tag on to a World Snooker Tour event. You know, when Michael White, he's an amateur, but he can be classed as an elite sports person. People like that, they can they're it's easier to class them as an elite sports person, but some maybe not. Some maybe not.
Well, a lot of the amateurs are getting invited anyway because of the restrictions on some of the other professionals coming in from Asia. So quite a few of the amateurs are getting invited to the professional competitions anyway. So I mean, look, the world, as far as the World Seniors event is concerned, it is obviously operated by WPBSA as a body, and it's classified as an elite event. And yes, there are quite a few professionals in it, and but yes, no, I really don't have a problem with that. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing that we could actually get snooker on the board, get it rolling. In Milton Keynes, it was a fantastic job they did at Milton Keynes with the testing and all the rest of it. And as much as I say that, we saw quite a lot of COVID cases. Players were still getting the virus coming in. So I mean I think that's a great thing. I don't have an issue with that. But I think, it needs, like I said before, Michael, it needs to be made very, very clear that I think any top amateurs, and I mean, all the lads that play in my pro-ams, I mean, 95% of them are as good as lads, quite a lot of the lads on the lower end of the tour who have aspired. Quite a lot of them have already been on the tour, Michael, and they want to get back on again, or they want to obviously go to Q school and become professional snooker players. I mean, to me, they're no different than anybody else who are playing on the tour, so they should be treated as elite sports people.
That it's very difficult, because I could say, right, I'm 64. I want to be a professional.
You look it.
I only feel like 80. Don't worry, but I could easily say I want to be a professional. I could say that I have every intention of going to Q school. I have every intention, and I don't work because I'm retired. I could say, right, I'm going to be an elite sports person, but that's what I mean. It's a bit subjective, because you're not actually, into a classification, and it could be written down somewhere. They could sit down with the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Snooker, the WPBSA, the EPSB. They could all sit down and actually put together a written statement of what actually classifies as an elite snooker player. Now that would solve the problem for everybody, because you could either fit in or you don't, and that's simple. And then it's not a matter of opinion. Then you can't say, like Nigel's just asked, how can an amateur come out of, into or out of tier 4 areas when they work, they've got a full-time job. They're having a week off work. it is difficult. I'm all for it in a way, but when the labour leader, the national unions of teachers, all the doctors, everybody's crying out for a national lockdown. Is it not slightly maybe selfish of snooker players to be travelling all over the country just to play snooker? They probably, and then it depends what they're doing when they get there. You know, they say that, all right, well, we're being tested, so you get a negative test, but then they go on, you know, just walk into town, go into a different hotel, go mix with people. I don't know. I'm not saying it shouldn't go ahead, but I'm not saying it should either. I don't know. It takes a lot of thought, and I don't like the idea that it's being done just to play snooker, and that's what slightly bugs me a bit.
Well, let's not get away from the elite specification here. This really refers to who's organising the event, Michael. I don't think you could say that you could designate a player as an elite player, because there's some amateurs playing in the World Seniors event. Also, there's going to be a lot of amateurs in the coming months playing in the ranking events. Okay, so for me, it's determined by World Snooker. World Snooker are holding a ranking event or organising a tournament, then that comes under elite sport, and that's okay, that's fine. So it's that description that puts them into that elite category for me, rather than anybody else. Now, as you know, look, all those players are traveling from all over the country, all right, to play. A lot of them traveled back to London and Essex and Oxfordshire and Northamptonshire when they were playing at Milton Keynes. And I know those areas are probably not particularly far away, most of those areas were actually at that time at Milton Keynes, you know, London and Essex was in tier 3, whereas areas like Sussex and Northamptonshire and Milton Keynes was in tier 2. So nothing's really probably going to change there. Under the elite sport category, that they can travel as long as they're doing it. Look, at the end of the day, they're going to their place of business. You know, if Sean Murphy's going to fly over from Dublin to Luton Airport to get to Milton Keynes to play his event, and he's perfectly within his right to go about his business. All right, he has to take the test. He has to isolate. He's confined and mixing with maybe perhaps one other person outside the venue, and that's no different than what we're all doing now. So I think a lot of us could just make it very, very complicated.
Yeah, that's what I understand, like what you're saying, and like I said, it's an elite event. The WPBSA make it an elite event. Yeah, that's fine. But I don't think then, just because it's an elite event, that anybody can join in. I think all the players that are playing in those events should be classed as elite sports people. Now, you look at the World Snooker Tour events, you know, the proper ranking events, where they've got there's been 3 or 4, hasn't there, from Q School Order of Merit that have been invited on. You've got the French lad, you've got Michael White, I can't remember the names of the other, Paul Davison. Them people, they're the top people from the Q School Order of Merit. Now, it's not like people like me. I don't think that. I mean, I could be playing next week. If I paid my money, 400 quid, I could join. That is completely selfish, I think. But that's if the law says you can do it, the law says you can do it. I'm not interested in. To me, my own thing. It's not about opinions. It should be about the law. The law should be clear, and where it's not clear, the national governing bodies should make it clear. They should get together with the government. The so-called talking the DCMS all the time. They're so-called talking with the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Snooker. There should be the national governing bodies for England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. They should all be getting together and talking about these things and laying down these things. And that's how it should be. I don't care whether it's right or wrong. It should be written down, though.
But don't forget, Michael, the tiers have changed. So, you know, the old tier 3 that we had there has been changes. I mean, I think that the big difference this time around is outdoor sports are permitted. So in the highest tier we have, which is tier 4, which is where most of the country will be in by the end, probably by midweek, the whole country will be in tier 4, which it should be. Perhaps maybe most of us will agree. Whether we agree on that doesn't really matter. But you can meet someone from another household and have a game of tennis outside. You can go and have a game of golf. You know, you can go shooting. Shooting is not regarded as a very high profile professional sport, but because it's outside, you can go up to a shooting range and shoot. You know, you can meet a friend and pick a football up and down. You know, so there's a lot of things we can do this time round that we couldn't do before until they were relaxed. So, I mean, I feel as if, you know, we're actually in a good position. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people argue different things. I mean, the kids going back to school, for me, no, they shouldn't be going back to school. But a lot of people are different. The Prime Minister might change his mind midweek. He's been changing his mind like the wind anyway. You know, he's changed his mind faster than the bloody virus is spreading, to be honest. But, you know, a lot of things could change, but nobody's got an easy job here.
No.
So in terms of, you know, World Snooker negotiating what they can and can't do at venues, and people like me trying to get involved with clubs, there's no easy way in. There's no easy solution to any of this. So I think we can make a lot more of it than what it is. We can think too much about it, you know, in my view.
I just think though that maybe because we're in tier 4, like I'm in tier 4, and my next door neighbour one way is a sheep, and the next door neighbour another way is a sheep, and I'm in tier 4. You know, I don't see anybody. We're out in the sticks. I walk 2 minutes that way.
Yeah.
And I'm in C. And I walk 2 minutes that way, and I'm in the middle of a field. I'm in tier 4.
And that's a great thing to be.
That's how we have to live. I don't care whether it's right or wrong. That is where I am. I'm in tier 4, so I abide by those rules. I don't think it'd be right for me to go anywhere just to play snooker, no matter what. Mm-hmm. Now that's my own view. That I think the system says I'm not an elite sports person. I live in tier 4. Wherever the event is, maybe if we're allowed to travel to Isle of Man, it'd be different. But we're not allowed to travel to Isle of Man. They're allowed to play. Maybe, but that's just the way it is. I think Nigel said on there that, you know, unless you're traveling for work or you're professional, you're not allowed to travel. But that's not maybe quite right. You're allowed to travel.
It's part of your business.
Well, it is. But that's where it has to be, because I could, like I said, playing in the seniors, I could, and it's not my business, and it would be so-called. It would be okay because they would allow me to join. They would allow me to pay the £400. They would allow me to go. Let me have a COVID test. If I was negative, I could play with amateur referees that are coming in from. He's actually called for people who are on furlough. Mm-hmm. They're not professional referees, but they can go just because they've had a test. But I can't go and see my daughter and my grandkids.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You know, just on what Nigel was saying there as well, the law says you can't. Well, Nigel, the thing is, the government guidelines, to me, you know, you can look at them from different ways. This time around with tier 4, as I say, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that the hotels are open. You know, so you're really only supposed to be using that hotel if you're going to your place of business. Like, for example, if I was driving up to Northampton to meet the owners of the Northampton club to have a business meeting to talk about events and any business that I have with them in the pending months, and I want to stay in the Premier Inn there, then I'm quite within my rights, Nigel, to drive up there and stay the night at the Premier Inn and conduct my business over 2 days or 1, and then drive home, whether it's from tier 2 back into 4 or 4 into 2. Nigel, it doesn't matter. That is perfectly within the law.
Yeah, I think what Nigel's saying is what I'm trying to say is, and I'm not getting at the seniors, and just in a general overall way. that they don't make it clear, and it wouldn't be difficult to make it clear. And I mean, the Old Parliamentary Group said to me in middle of December, we've written to the government, but they don't say what they've written. They don't say whether they've had an answer. We've written to the government. What good's that? They asked him last time, and the question what he asked last time was just ridiculous. He just said, "Have you reclassified it?" And then the answer wasn't even anything to do with that question. And even Jason Ferguson was straight on and saying, "You've asked the wrong question." Now, the chairman of the All Party Parliament, this is where it gets a bit confusing. So why not just sit down, get it clear, get it written down, end of story. No speculation, no thinking about it. It's written down. You are here.
Michael, I think the reality is that we're going to have continuous communication. I mean, I'm sure Jason is going to have to is going to be speaking with these people all the time, because things are going to change. There's going to be a few problems. He's going to have to clear it up and make decisions. So I mean, I think that's the thing. Nigel's coming back again. Nigel, you're a pain in the ass. Do you know that? He's laying into me tonight. No, the thing is, yes, no, Nigel, good points, a lot of good points there. But the thing is that, if I'm an amateur snooker player who is a part-time player with aspiring to join the tour to become a professional snooker player, and I'm not playing the ranking events on the tour, I'm very much within my rights, Nigel, to get in my car and drive to a snooker club in Yorkshire, where they have offered me the opportunity to discuss with them potential coaching, the use of the facilities. You're quite within your rights to do that. So, I mean, that's a business trip, and that is part of your work. So, I mean, to me, it's black and white. Michael, it's black and white.
But what about the people like me, or a lot of the people who are playing, who are not deriving a living from the sport, but are still allowed to play?
No, you shouldn't be traveling then. You don't travel. It's not part of your business.
Well, look at the people in the seniors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they are. But they're playing in and I'll quote this. That they're playing in an elite organized competition, Michael. That's very, very clear to me. And that, for me, now we'll disagree on that. But for me, they're actually going about their business. They've been invited to an elite snooker event.
No.
You would disagree with me on that.
Well, they've not been invited. They just pay the £400 to go. It's not an invitation.
Well,
they could do it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the entry fee or the invitation. The fact that they're participating in that event, which is classed as an elite event. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, but do you not think it's a bit selfish to have people travelling all over the country just for a game of snooker?
Well, look, listen, this is a one-off event. It's not as if they're going to have them played every...
It's a test event, though. It's actually a test event. But that sounds like I'm getting at them, but I don't think... I'm not doing it at all. What the problem is, like, they said when there was the last tier thing, or still like actually is tier 3. If we went into tier 3 now, if everybody went into tier 3, or all those clubs that are still in tier 3, according to the legislation now, tier 3 says that snooker clubs, snooker halls, pool halls, they're classed as indoor entertainment, like bingo. They're not like a gym or badminton or indoor tennis.
That was changed recently too. That's why they open there in tier
3. If you look at tier 3 now, snooker halls are not allowed to open because they're indoor entertainment. They're not sport. That's what they're trying to get changed. That's what the so-called the question that the chairman of the APPG asked in Parliament didn't ask the right question, didn't get the right answer. What he should have said is, why is snooker being classed as indoor entertainment rather than sport? And he didn't ask that question, so he didn't get the answer. That's what Jason Ferguson is supposed to have asked them to ask again, so that in tier 3 they could open if they wanted to. Now, another part of the problem there, the knock-on effect of that, is a lot of clubs couldn't open in tier 2, or wouldn't open in tier 2, because they couldn't serve beer without a substantial meal.
That's right.
Now, what about all the Asian clubs who don't serve beer? They're perfectly well snooker clubs. They don't serve beer. So why can all clubs not run without serving beer?
In tier 2, snooker clubs could open, Michael. I mean, for example, down here in the south in tier 2, the snooker clubs open. They couldn't serve beer without a substantial meal.
Yeah,
which was a very grey area. You know,
but you look at clubs. A lot of clubs in tier 2 said we can't open because we can't afford to do, because we make all our money on beer.
It's fine. You know, if they don't have a lot of business, if they're not a big sports venue with pool tables and snooker tables, and if it's only a small club with maybe 2 snooker tables and 2 pool tables, and they rely really heavily on the booze sales, and yes, you're right. But that was a decision that was made by the clubs.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. A lot of clubs, big clubs with lots of tables, I think they don't charge enough, and I think people that expect to pay like £2 an hour or something to play snooker, and I mean most clubs actually complain that snooker players don't drink enough and don't do enough, because Les Dodd. You asked Les Dodd. He took 2 or 3 snooker tables out, put pool tables in, just to do that, just to make money. Mm-hmm. Lots of clubs do it because snooker players will go in and they'll play 2 or 3 hours or something like that and have a glass of water. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And it's not enough. The business model has to change, I think, for clubs. They have to be able to, and we have to break this thing about snooker and alcohol. Forget it. You know, you go out, you can't play. I don't care anybody who says, "Oh, I play better after 10 pints." You might think you do, but you don't. If you can play good after 10 pints, you probably play brilliant without beer. But if we could break the cycle, and EPSB, when they first started out, they wanted to do that. You couldn't be in it. You couldn't be in the 147 club if you could see if there was anything to do with beer. But obviously they got told straight away that you couldn't do that. You know, 99% of social clubs will be serving beer, and you can't get away from it. Uh-huh. But we need to break the cycle, the connection. Because like I say, I look at an Asian club, decent Asian clubs, and there's even some, is it 3 counties who don't serve beer over in Norfolk way? They don't serve beer. So there's no need to serve beer except for finance. Now, if you change the business model where there's some kind of payments, membership payments, if the hourly rate is right, I don't know what it is. I don't know the numbers, but if we broke that cycle, it would be better. It would be better actually for the junior side as well, the family side, if it wasn't seen to be like, for want of a term, let's say all the drunkards who were going in.
Like me, Michael.
Yeah, exactly.
Like me for. Why are you picking on me? Anyway, this is a very, very good opportunity to get away from this subject, okay? Because it's killing me. It's killing me, okay? So what we're going to do now, listen, guys, we're going to get away before we get arrested. We're going to get arrested live on the screen here. I don't know where you are. You need to calm down, Michael.
Yeah,
Take it off and get yourself a cup of tea. Listen, what we're going to do now, Michael, we're going to move on a little bit here. We're going to talk to the guys about some other stuff. One of those things is, particularly to the amateur players who have either been on the tour or who aspire to get on a professional snooker tour, the kind of things that they can do to keep themselves busy. Now, I know, and other ways to supplement their income as well. So I wanted to just touch on that a little bit. Guys, I'm sure a lot of you are aware that a lot of the guys on the tour, on the lower end of the tour, do a lot of things with the clubs are involved with. They can get involved with coaching. Coaching is a massive, massive thing for even a very, very small club that hasn't got particularly good tables, but it could be a massive, massive thing. If you're a lower ranked professional or you're a very good amateur, a bit like the guys that play in my competitions, you're all semi-professional. And, you're trying to find ways of supplementing your income. You know, coaching juniors or setting up coaching programs for adults, especially juniors, is a nice way of doing that. You know, there's I know a lot of the guys on the tour, a lot of the guys on the tour are really struggling, and they have to supplement their incomes with universal credit, for example, which is a benefit that's there to help you with things like rent and living costs. You know, you're all entitled to claim that money, even if it's just, you know, a couple of £1,000 a year. It doesn't really matter. It's obviously monthly orientated with your income, based on your income. You know, and it's there to help with things. I mean, my daughter is a 28-year-old hairdresser. She teaches it. She does NVQ training for a very, very big organization, and she earns £22,000 a year, and she still gets help. You know, she still gets, because she pays high rent. So I mean, you know, there's a lot of guys. I know a lot of you are out there who are really struggling on a tour to make enough, but there's lots of different ways you can supplement your income. And thinking of coaching programs at your local clubs or other clubs outside your area is a great idea. And that's one of the things that I'm really going to push when we get back to normal. Michael, what's your view on this?
Definitely. I mean, we need more coaches. Definitely need more coaches. I have a phrase. If you with this, it's and I know where I'd be if I was back to 16 rather than nearly 66. But if you want to get ahead, get a coach. You've got to be coached these days. Even you've seen the difference in Mark Selby recently from being coached by Chris Henry. Such a big difference.
Awesome.
And it's so different. If you get a coach, it's so good. But if you look how much the junior clubs would thrive, I think, if they had a professional going in. You know, say if you got out, if the local junior club had a visit from a professional every Saturday morning, and you know, just 10 minutes, 5 minutes, even if he wasn't the actual coach, if he was the coach, even better. But you know, the Northern Snooker Centre do well out of it. They got David Grace, they got Peter Lyons, they got Oliver Lyons. Obviously, they got Ian there coaching as well, but. Look at, you know, they've got top quality coaches there. That's why they've got loads and loads of good kids coming out of there. You got, it would be good. And yes, if a coach has got that business and he can rely on that business as well, you know, it's another way of making money. They're self-employed. Like you said, they've got the self-employed support schemes from COVID, all that kind of stuff. Much, 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 much better. And that they fit into, you know, I some of the lower paid snooker players, God knows what they do. You know, I've been in. Let's just say I've been in a snooker club, and gone to a bar and got served by a professional snooker player, and you think, what are you doing? Why are you serving me a pint? You know, you're a professional snooker player and you're working behind the bar to keep going. It's like,
well, I don't do, Michael. I know quite a few of them would do, because. Yeah. A lot of my guys, actually, a lot of the guys who are aspiring to get on the tour are working at clubs behind the bar, and you know, a lot of those seniors players that are playing snooker next week, they work behind the bar at clubs, and I
think they could make better money by out of snooker itself. Even exhibitions, you know, you look at the amounts that people can charge. Obviously, the top guys charge thousands of pounds per night. But any of the lower end snooker players just going in playing league match people, you know, the league players, if they're playing like 10 of them on a night, they could get a couple of 100, 300, 400 quid, whatever, depending on their standard, just for you know, a couple of hours work. You know, it's decent money.
You know, just getting off that, except Don Bosley there has just asked a question, just touched on where lower ranked pros can't make ends meet. You know, imagine being on 128 end tour, lower end of the tour, not making any money. Well, you know, Don, the simple answer to that is there's too many professionals. That's a simple answer to that. I mean, like, there's a lot of the guys on the tour saying, no, there isn't. It's great. It's wonderful. You know, we're all doing so well. They're not. the guys down at the bottom end of the tour are struggling to make a living. It's a bad business plan. So what do you do about it? Well, maybe you just turn it around a bit. You create avenues or ways to give these guys at the lower end of the tour an opportunity to win by maybe changing the seeding system for one thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then look at ways of dealing with it, or maybe you know, perhaps have another tour or a separate tour or a pro-am tour, you know, where you can get the players involved, you know, in kinds of competitions.
Why not have it like the last World Championships worked fine, and it's happened before. It's worked before when you've got the tiered draw system. You've got the 128 players. Take the bottom 32. This is for every ranking event, and it's and Matt is like this with the, you know, the rankings are done as soon as somebody puts the ball. We're ranking. So there's no problem. As soon as an event's finished, the ranking table's there for the next event. So you got the bottom 32. The first round is the bottom 32 playing the next 32. So then there's only 32 losers, rather than every event, 128 players, 64 go on with nothing. That's scandalous. Now, you're not telling me that that's right. We're 64 players, every ranking event go on with nothing. That's got to be wrong. Now, that's if you had those last 32 and you gave them 500 quid each, that's 16 grand. They could easily skim that off somewhere else. They could give that the last 32, the next 32, then play the next 32. The next 32 play the others, and you get to the top players, and they're playing the better players then, and they're not having to go into these little cubicles in like sports halls and stuff like that, which is it's another shambles, isn't it? I mean, you're world number one, you're world champion, and you're playing on a Monday morning in a cubicle in the back end of a sports centre. That's not a professional sports image to me. That's not. It's like put all the football clubs in the Football League, all 4 divisions, Premier, Championship, Leagues 1 and League 2, stick them all in together in a hat, and then you play. So Man United might be playing at wherever it is. I don't know who's in League 2 these days. Accrington Stanley. Who are they? Exactly. Well, they could be playing there, couldn't they? And that's an Accrington Stanley. You're going to go, oh, we're going to get great experience. We're playing Man United. No. And then they go on with nothing. They get on with absolutely not a penny. It's got to be wrong. It's got to be wrong. They need to be playing in a tiered system which allows them to progress.
Well, Michael, it's not just issues like that. A lot of these guys who have got on a snooker tour have given up their jobs, you know, giving up their part-time jobs to make less money and travel more. So I think, you know, the logistics part of it and the traveling part of it and the whole business end of it needs to be looked at by World Snooker. World Snooker should really have a long, hard think about that and think about where the money's going. But yeah, they should look at realistically, they should look at the guys at the bottom end of the tour who are really going to struggle over 2 seasons. You know, look, the guys, you're sick of listening to me say there's too many players on the tour. You know, I just look at 128 players on the tour and I think, you know, look, there's guys down here who are not really going to make a living. They're not really going to get much better unless they progress very, very quickly, or they beat a good player, or they get lucky in a draw and get a couple of good draws and go home with $3,000. They might just get by with about 30 or 40,000 a year, and they could just keep their heads above water. But it's not enough. Some of these guys are giving up jobs to travel to play on the tour. So I think that, you know, the governing body needs to take a long think about that and look at that and maybe introduce something like a sponsorship program. There's lots of different ways that they can look at it where they can spread the money out a little bit more. And anyway, look, listen, we've gone over and over and over about that. You know, like a broken record. You know, it's not going to change. You know, and I know, Michael, that this is not going to change. You know, this is not going to change. I'm not going to name names or drop names or who's going to be responsible for it. But I mean, a lot of the lads there are doing a great job. Some of them are doing a really shit job. You know, they shouldn't be there. But, you know, say, look, it's up to them to come together and fix the problems.
There may be changes now with the new separate Players Commission, that it's actually a separate entity. Whether people like Nigel Bond and Ding Junhui, whether they can bring in some fresh ideas into it, but if it's a separate body that players can actually talk to, and then know that that's going to go forward, maybe those bottom end players, maybe there's enough of them, like the bottom 64, if you like, there's half of the players can be saying this isn't very good, really. We need to be looked after a little bit better. They could do, they could do.
Well, by the way, guys, listen, this is for the guys who are on the tour. The only way to get your voice heard is to actually go to your players' representatives, and you know who they are. They're the likes of Joe Parry and Mark Davis and whoever else is on that panel. You need to come together and have conversations and go to them, because your voice is not going to be heard alone. So this is the kind of things you need to do. You need to come together as a group, start a group, have a conversation about these problems you're facing going into the venues, the events, and the overall organization of everything that's going on. You need to take a long, hard look at it, but the only way to put your voice forward is to actually speak about it and come together as a group, and then go to the players' representations and then take it further from there. That's it, Oh, I'll tell you what, Michael, we're not getting very far here with the topics. We're going to be here until midnight, but if I let you carry on the way you are, okay? So we'll get, look, we got a lot of things. Let's just move on to Q School. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of the guys out there are sort of wondering what the heck's going on, this year. Well, look, it's nobody's fault. You can't blame anybody. You can't blame World Snooker for getting the Challenge Tour up and running. You can't blame anybody for anything if nothing can be organised in this environment. But in terms of Q School, Michael, I don't think there's going to be a major problem there. I think that Q School will get organised, and it will be set up pretty much like Milton Keynes was. And if the entries for however number of players there are, if the entry system works the way it works with the testing and the accommodation and all the rest of it, I can't see any major problems there. What do you think?
It depends on the format. Now, obviously, we know that Barry Hearn runs the darts as well as snooker, and I know he's keen on the way that Q School will give everybody a chance and all that kind of stuff. But the darts is looking at it a different way. Where basically, you've got to earn your right to be on the Q School, if you like. Now, that's the way I would say it's got to be. It's not just anybody who can put on a tie. Not anybody can go to Q School. That's my view. You should earn your place on Q School. I think it's an insult to a professional who's just come off the tour. He's been ranked at like 65, 66 or something like that. He's a really, really good player, and he's coming off, and he's having to play somebody who's next door to him, if you like, on ranked 67 or whatever. And then he looks at the next table, and he's got another player who's exactly the same as him, who's playing a guy who's obviously never held a cue in his life before, but just because he's paid £1,000 and he wants to play a professional. So, giving some of these guys a really easy ride by playing people who have absolutely no chance, don't even really want to go on to the tour.
Do you not think that's opening up a whole can of worms here, Michael? Do you not think that this is going to create more problems? I mean, if you start suggesting or introducing a selection process for Q School, I can see nothing but trouble. I can see nothing but an abundance of problems and trouble with getting people to pay the entry fee and think, well, how is that process going to work in your view?
Because you could do it like they do the European Championships, if you like. The European Championships are a selected few from each country that have earned the right to be there. Like Rory McLeod was like number one in the English Amateur Tour, and he was who was the other Dan Dan Walmsley, was he number 2 in the ranking? They get selected to go on to the European stuff, like Paget did. He won, and he got his tour card. But there's the World Snooker Federation. There's ways of doing it, like they used to do the IBSF. That people who won certain events qualified to go to an event, a worldwide event, maybe held in Europe, probably was held in Europe. They were usually held in Saudi and places, strange places, held in tents in, 100 degrees. But they were selected to go to these places where they won the tour cards from. Now, you could easily do Q School like that. Now, a lot of people think that Q School, because there's like 200 people enter and they pay $1,000 each, it's 200 grand in Barry Hearn's back pocket. Well, that's just not the case at all, is it? There's probably, I don't know how much profit Q School would make, but it's got to be extremely expensive to put Q School on. And I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't make any money at all, Q School. So I don't think it's a cash cow like some people think it is. But I don't think it's right to have professionals just coming off the tour want to go on to, and to play people who either got no hope or are good players, because it's a random draw. Where's the fairness in that? I don't see that as being at all fair. If there was some seeding system where the lower end of Q School played each other first, like a tier draw, like we were just saying before, like the World Championships worked fine. The lower end play first, then they go up, and then the top players, the best ones out of all these at Q School, they play the professionals who've just come off the tour, because it's just a tiering system, isn't it? Mm. Where the better players, the ones who have seriously got a serious chance of being on the tour, are the ones that are going to be challenging the ones who've just come off, rather than go through all this 3 week rigmarole.
That sounds like an awful headache, mate. If I was part of the team who took on board the concept of trying to organise that, I would walk out. I would walk out for no money, because I just think that's a massive task. I think, everybody have different views on this. I'm sure some of the lads watching this will have their views on this.
Oh yeah.
By the way, guys, you want to send in any views? Just type in a question there. I'm just going to get Michael to answer it. So just send in your questions. That's how it goes. Click the buttons. Click the like button on the YouTube channel.
I'm reading these things. Yes, Michael. That's good, Michael. That's good.
They like you. I don't know why they like you. Everybody hates you.
I don't.
Person likes you. That's why you're on here. Because I asked 100 people and they said no. That's why you're on here.
Good cop, bad cop.
Anyway, the main tour should consist of. There you go. There's somebody who agrees with me. Kevin Villa. Look, the main tour should consist of 64 players. Then make a secondary tour when it's out of 64 or 128. There you go. Now here's someone there who's talking a lot of sense.
Four leagues. Why not 4 leagues? 32. Get smaller events, smaller things, and let the top players. A lot of these events now, like this next one that's starting tomorrow, it's just the top 25. Mm-hmm. The other guys are sat on their hands at the minute, aren't they? The guys who are desperate for a few quid, who sat at home watching it.
What we need in this game is we need some fresh players. We need great players coming into the game, providing a bit of entertainment value. That can. I'll tell you what, that can provide the type of entertainment value we got off Trump and Lazowski last week or the week before. I've lost track now. But that was the World Grand Prix final, Michael. Is that right?
Something like that. I get mixed up with all them.
That was the World Grand Prix final. It was Trump actually got the better of Jack on that occasion. But that was one of the best finals I've seen in a long, long time.
But even some of the established ones. What about the semi-final the other week between Selby and Robertson? Best best game I've seen for years and years and years. That was tremendous snooker. You know, I'm not always a big fan of like 100 breaks, but when it's 100 break, 134, 134, it's like, oh my God, it's like two, big heavyweights punching hell out of each other, isn't it? It's just.
Would you rather watch a safety bout in a 60-minute frame?
No, a bit of both. A bit of one, bit of the other. You know what I mean? You never know what's coming next. That's one thing you've got with Ronnie at the minute, because he's not doing all the, he's not doing what he used to do. His other game is quite good, isn't it? And it's good to watch because he's he can control cue ball as good as anybody, and he can put people in a snooker and he can get out of snookers, and once you get Ronnie in a safety game, it's just as good as watching him, knocking them all in.
Right.
It's a bit of one, bit of the other. I absolutely adore watching Mark Selby play snooker. I think he's fantastic. Best player I've watched is Robertson. Love watching Neil Robertson. Just amazing how you watch him, and every single time he takes a shot, his cue is 100% perfectly straight, and you think, how does he do that? How does he do that? And I like watching that. But I love watching Trump. I love watching Lisowski. And I'm not really that interested in the pro game. Stats leave me cold. I don't care who's won, whatever. I don't care what event it is. If I'm watching a game of snooker, it's a game of snooker, and it doesn't matter whether it's world championships or what. And I don't like the commentary. I just like to watch the game of snooker. I watch most snooker on mute because I can't be doing with all this. Oh, that's the 15th time he's missed that blue in when he was 6-0 up, and that kind of rubbish. I can't be doing with that.
You're very patient, Michael. Personally, I would rather watch, the quick view matches on YouTube where you watch them, they just cut straight to the shot, and the frame's over in a minute and a half. I think that's fantastic bit of technology. We should pick up on that. I think it's mostly the Chinese streams that are actually showing the quick view frame recordings, and I think that's brilliant. Especially when it comes to I'm not going to drop any names here, but the players out there know who they are. They know they're very dull, and and when they're on there, their frames take an hour. The flies are dropping dead off the wall. Wives are fighting with their husbands. The people want to switch the TV off. People are falling asleep. Yeah. People are falling asleep. They're drunk. They're getting drunk watching them. So we're not always going to get the high-profile finals, and the very fast attacking finals like we did with Lisowski and Trump. But we need them. We need that entertainment value. And yes, it is important. And I appreciate what you're saying. You love a good technical game. It's not everything. It's not everything, No. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up very, very shortly, guys. I want to touch on a couple of things, just in case some of you catch up with this a little bit later. As I say, when we get the competitions up and running again, the roll-all event is obviously best of 11s, and I know it's £150 entry fee, but we do actually have a couple of sponsors coming in the new year. I'm not going to mention who they are, okay? But it will involve wearing the shirts. We're going to have polo shirts with the logos on the shirts, and the dress code will be slightly improved. And I think this will be good for all of you too. So you'll be turning up. You're not going to be allowed to turn up with shorts, or underwear. Some of you turn up like you've just come out of the swimming pool. It's okay. But it's not going to help the platform. It's not going to help the sponsors either. So there's going to be opportunities for you. Also, I haven't said this before on a live stream, but the sponsorship has been offered to a few of you on this roll-on event. I have offered, Pro-Am Snooker has offered to sponsor some of you. None of you have actually taken it. Believe Michael, none of them have taken it. I have offered listen, don't even start me, okay? Or I'll get kicked off YouTube. No, we are prepared. Myself and a couple of others are prepared to sponsor some of the better players. Funny how it's the better players, Michael. Other opportunities. But there's about a dozen of you who have been offered sponsorship, and that is basically all of the entry fee, and you pay back obviously a portion of any winnings that you generate through the competition. So that's still on offer. If you wish to apply for that, then contact me. Unless your name's Michael Waring, you can go ahead and make a phone call. It's okay.
How much is the entry fee?
Well, the roll-on competition is £150 entry fee, Michael, and yes, it does seem like a lot, but the prize money has a reflection on that, and I'll just see if I can bring it onto the screen there. As you can see, basically it's a 32-player best of 11 event, and we're going to play it in several clubs, but mostly Northampton and JP's, and the matches are pretty much going to be played over the Pro-Am weekends. So some of the matches, 2 or 3 or 4 of those matches, will be played over that weekend. When we're using the match tables during the weekend. But as I say, the players can arrange the dates. They can pick and choose the dates, and we can fit it all in. And there's no rush to finish the event. So I think that's pretty decent for 32 players. 2,000 to the winner, 1,000 runner-up, 400 a quarters. That puts, I think, if you do the sums there, Michael, it puts a couple of £100 into the platform. Now the sponsors are going to kick in after this, and they're going to kick in with the back-to-back Pro-Am weekends, where all the money will get paid out, and I'll end up on the dole. And I wouldn't even cover the cost of the hotel. I'll have to sleep in the snooker rooms. That's okay. That's all right. But that's pretty much it. So the whole idea really with sponsorship, with some businesses coming into the event, is to pay out all the entry fee money and maybe a high break price, and then generate more of an interest from some of the lower ranked professionals. That's what we're going to try and do. So if you're watching this, guys, or you watch this later and you want to play in these events, if your name's not on that list that I put out there on the page, that list is a provisional list. A lot of those guys are not going to play. I haven't collected the entry fees from everyone in this event. I will be next week. And I'm pretty sure that a good half dozen of you are going to pull out. Some of you have already pulled out or would like to pull out or are still thinking about it. And I know they've excluded some of you who want to play in it, but it's only because you're on a waiting list. But if some of your names are not on there, I will get in touch with you next week. Any questions on that one, Michael?
just on that, on the entry fee.
Yep.
If you've got like a business that's prepared to pay like the 150 on maybe some kind of payback from a winner, even if it's just get the entry fee back.
Yeah, no. Listen, Michael, I can tell you right now that at least, at the very, very least, I know of eight of the players who are playing in this have sponsors. So, I mean, a lot of people don't realize this, but, quite a few of the guys who play in my Pro-Ams, the back-to-back weekend ones, they have backers. They already have sponsors. Now, they may be individuals. Some of them are businesses. But, and I do need to find out who they are so we can help them. In a lot of ways, I can promote them and maybe talk about them a little bit if they want to come on and talk about their sponsors just after the event. So, guys, if you have a sponsor and you play in any of these events, and you want to say a few words about your backers or a business or someone who's represented you, then if you come and speak to me directly, I will give you a little couple of minutes interview in the back room at JP's or Barrett's, and you can talk about yourself a little bit. You can talk about your sponsors, and that's the whole idea of what we're doing.
So, like, say if Snooker Hub paid 150 quid, and the guy wore a Snooker Hub badge on his shirt throughout the competitions, and you said Snooker Hub's a sponsor and they sponsored this guy and whatever.
Well, you what you do there, Michael, is you negotiate that deal with the player. So you might say to that player, okay, you keep half of anything you win, and that's the deal. Or you can pay me back the 150, if you get to a certain level or whatever, or you can pay me back the entry fee and keep half of any winnings. I mean, that is generally most of the way it works. But it's down to you. You could say, well, look, listen, you keep 75%, and just pay back the money if you lose in the first round, or you get to say the losing quarters and pay us back the 150. I mean, you can negotiate that with the player, but that's really entirely up to you.
Sounds like it sounds like a good deal for a sponsor to me. That sounds like it's not a lot of money, is it?
Here he goes. Yeah. No.
Like, if I was sponsoring somebody to play in that event for 150 quid with a chance of winning 2,000, I mean, if I went and played in it, I'd pay. I'd lose my 150 straight off. But if I sponsor somebody, I've got more of a chance of getting something back and get a lot of publicity for my business.
Listen, that's a fair view. That's a fair enough view, but you can look at it in different ways. I mean, I potentially, I sort of thought to myself, well, look, I'll sponsor maybe 3 to 4 players, and a couple of my colleagues from the clubs, have also said that they may consider sponsoring some players, or maybe some juniors, for example. And the juniors, for me, the juniors are fantastic because they're not only do they attract attention of spotters because they're very young, but some of the juniors who are going to be playing in this event, by the way, I mean, the likes of, young Liam Davies from Wales, and the likes of, say, Dylan Emery from Wales, a lot of those types of names of those guys who are maybe between 14 and 18 years old, who will almost certainly get on a tour if they keep doing what they're doing. I mean, they've got mass potential. So they're a better prospect. Even though they're not favourites. I mean, if you look at that list I've put up there, those 2 names are not really high up there. Maybe in the top. All right, maybe Dylan would probably be in that top 16, but he perhaps maybe wouldn't be in the top 8. So I mean, you have to balance as to whether they're going to win the money or not. It's 150 quid. I mean, if I could afford to run these events for absolutely nothing, I would do it. I think the players know me well enough to know that if I could drive up and down to these venues over the weekend and not cover my expenses, I would do it. I would actually, if I had a very successful business and I could sponsor the events themselves, I'd put £1,000 in. I would put it in just to promote the guys and help them. And I think, that sort of thing comes back to you. But that's the reason why they need sponsorship. But you can only do what you can afford to do. The platform can't afford to do an awful lot. You may think that's not a fantastic deal.
I think for a small business, to get adverts, on any of the players, and to get you doing a bit of advertising through the YouTube and through the channel. And obviously, I could do the same on Snooker Hub. I could say such a body sponsored by such a thing, and I can put the logos up. I can put links to their own website. I can do that for sponsors, at no cost to me. But I think it's a good deal for a sponsor. I think it's cheap sponsorship. I think it's.
Of course. I mean, if you look at my shirt, Michael.
Yeah.
You'll see Bet McLean, which is an Irish bookmaker, actually. It's a very, very big, one of the biggest Irish bookmakers in the north of Ireland.
Right.
So, I mean, this is just a shirt that I wore when I played in the Mark Allen Pro-Am, which is held every year. But, companies like this, even for this, if I was wearing, one of Hainsworth's polo shirts or one of Tam Chalk's, lovely coloured polo shirts, or Snooker Hub UK, then it's all promoting everything. There we are. You need to go and speak to the designer there, Michael, and that's terrible. But it promotes the sport, and if you go on there and you talk about a good cause, or you're running, yeah, that's fine. The other things worth touching on as well is charitable events. This is another thing that we can get involved. I mean, charities should try and get involved too, and players can raise money, even small amounts of money, for charity. So if you can think of anything and you have the time to put the time in to do that, guys, you can help me with that. There's lots of different things you can do. If charities want to come to me for example, and put something out there, I will go ahead and do that. Or anything to promote the sport, promote juniors, promote coaching, and to help clubs. Clubs are going to need a lot of help, Michael, by the way, when this is all over. This is another topic which, we're running a wee bit over time here, but, we'll touch on the club thing just before we go. I think, for all the club owners out there, and I know quite a lot of them, and so do you, and I think they're just sort of holding back. They're waiting to see what's going to happen with the infection rates. A lot of them are going to struggle. I'm sure some of them are already going to close in the new year in that respect, but they can only do what they can do, and they have to carry on paying their costs. I'm sure they've got to carry on paying their rent, for the club facilities. They've got to carry on paying their bills. Their staff might be furloughed and they may get a bit of help from the government, but it's not going to cover anywhere near. It's not going to cover anywhere near their expenses. So, I think, when we get out of this mess, a lot of you guys out there, snooker players, doesn't matter what level or what standard you are, you're going to have to get back involved with your club and support your club. Professionals, like we talked about coaching earlier, I'd like to see many of the lower ranked professionals get back into their clubs and help their clubs, support their clubs, and generate business with advertising, and do it for free. You have to support your local snooker clubs, and it's the only way to do that. It's the only way to get us all back on track. So we've got a load of debt on one side, and then you've got the preparation for moving forward and getting the business up and running again. And it's a very, very difficult thing for a small business. You and I have run businesses. We've been involved with small businesses. We know a little bit about that, and we know about the clubs and the struggles the clubs have had. Clubs don't run by themselves, Michael. You know what I mean? They've got bills to pay. They've got tables to cover, staff to manage the clubs. And a lot of the guys who run the clubs are passionate about snooker, and they're doing the best that they can do. And we're here to help too, guys. So if you want us to do anything for your club, come to me and go to Michael at Snooker Hub. Michael will promote your club for nothing. I will promote your club for nothing. I will even help you organize an event for nothing. You will have to collect the money, however. But the thing is, we are there to help you. So move forward. So if you want to have an idea, you want to put it forward, you want to come on and talk about anything in relation to snooker or your club or to anything that gets you back on track, and that's why platforms like myself and Michael are here. Michael, would you like to add to that?
I think you're perfectly right, and I keep saying it. The clubs need support when they do start opening again. They need support. The clubs I know that have been, when they opened last time, everybody was like, "Oh, you're not going to be able to get in," and you go, and they're just like, people were like a bit scared of going out or something. I don't know what it was, but people just didn't, and they were maybe sat back waiting for everybody else. They need support. Once it's fine to go out, once we've been vaccinated and once the infection's down, get out there, support the clubs, and if we can get any local professionals getting out there, snooker players love to see professionals playing alongside them, playing against them, whatever. Everybody can do a bit to support the club, and I like you. We do it for them. There's so much that people could do if they talk to me. I can help promote their club. They can have their own section within mine. They can have stuff. They can have all the events published. Mm-hmm. They can have whatever the function room charges are. They can advertise for nothing. A lot of these places, they're relying on Facebook, which is a bit difficult these days, because every time you turn Facebook on, it's advert cats, dogs, advert cats, dogs, snooker, adverts cats, dogs, adverts cats, dogs, snooker. It's difficult. But if you go on something like Snooker Hub, snooker, but you can advertise all the snooker club has got all this other stuff that's going on that's making the money, the function rooms, all the bingo, the dances, whatever else they do, the pool events and all that kind of stuff. That's all like the side. Snooker is obviously the main thing, but we can advertise, we can help the clubs, we can do whatever we can to help the clubs, and if the clubs can come up with a good idea, by all means, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do.
I think we've just started the new year, and it's going to be weeks before clubs will be able to open again. And I think, guys, I keep saying this thing about positivity. We can only look forward, and we can do the best that we can do. Clubs, in respect to clubs should really just spend this time perhaps maybe reflecting on everything that's happened, and maybe reflecting on the last 2 or 3 years of business and different ways that they can improve their facilities, and maybe do some of the things that we've talked about, getting players involved in the club. And as I say, look, guys, club owners especially, get in touch with myself or Michael. If we can help with anything on here, we'll do it. And, so it's not about, I started, Michael, I don't make a living out of organising snooker events, as you know. I probably, if there's anything left in the kitty, it's probably a bottle of wine and a 3-course meal at the club and the hotel. But, the whole reason why I started the competitions in the first place is because we didn't really have any really good pro-ams, and I sort of got back into the game, and I thought, well, a couple of guys in the club said, well, what can you do? I said, well, look, I'll organise one event in the Brighton club, and we'll see how. I didn't realise it would get that much attention, but there were like a lot of good players were screaming out for it. So I do it for the players. I don't do it. It doesn't line my pocket. I'm not there to. I'm not going to make a living running events and doing live streams. Myself and Michael do not make any money from this. Bet McLean, they're not paying me any money. So we don't make we're doing this for you, run the platforms for you, to help you with lots of different things like this. The whole idea of the streaming started through COVID to promote the amateur game. And I think, Michael, you'll probably agree with me, Michael, we're really emphasizing on the amateur game. We're here for the amateur game, and we're there to work with them.
Yeah, that's what I know. You're the same. The baseline is we just want to help snooker move forward, and your platform is done. It's incredible, really. How many people up north, because obviously we live at different ends of the country. I'm up in the frozen north of England. I see it all the time that people do want pro-ams. They want these pro-ams. Leeds used to be massive, didn't it? The pro-am there used to be massive. You get up the north end of the country, you get all over the country. You could have a pro-am every weekend, at least one a weekend, anywhere. You can have them all over the country. People do have to travel a little bit these days, but the country's nothing these days, is it? You're traveling, a couple of hours and you're there. Obviously, if I'm coming down to Brighton, I'm traveling 6 or 7 hours. It's a bit much. It's like, you get in the middle of the country and there's going to be pro-ams all over the place, and this is what it needs to be. It needs to get back to that.
And that's why the guys, from Leeds, that's why players like Cully Johal and Don Worsley, come down from Leeds, because they know they're coming down. They're playing in a back-to-back weekend. They're playing in 2 16-player best-of-7 events and pretty good tables and good surroundings. And they share a hotel room. I'm not sure anybody will share a hotel room with Cully Johal again after the last event, but I certainly won't be. But no, they come down and they know they're going to get tested. They know they're going to get tested more than the Challenge Tour, actually. And that's why some of them come down, and it's probably the only way. And some of them are perhaps maybe thinking it's the best way to prepare themselves for Q School. And that seems to be my thing. I suggest that the players play in the pro-ams and travel. You're getting a weekend of snooker, for your 120 quid. You're getting 2 competitions. There's an opportunity to walk away with 800 quid. It's not bad. It's not that bad, Michael. It's pretty good.
And you're playing at proper clubs like at JP's. Clubs that are proper snooker clubs, aren't they? But you get, as well as that, you get anywhere up north. It's maybe slightly different. There's not as many good clubs, but they don't care. They don't not really that bothered. I was talking. It's a couple of years ago now, but we're playing in a pro-am. There's a few good people there, And I was talking to Gary Wilson and Craig Steadman, and they just want to play snooker. They don't care, and just every weekend they'll be wherever. You know, I'm talking like being in Manchester, and there's lads coming up. I played hammered Mia because he hammered Mia. He really did hammer me. He just like knocked out balls and just. But Gary Wilson's there, and he probably wasn't. You know, it's a few years ago, so he wasn't that high up. Craig Steadman, he's one of the he's a good pro. He's a good player. But these guys, they want to play, and people play in pro-ams like that, and they'll do it, and you will get people. We had a pro-am at Carlisle not so long ago, and Gary came over. David Lilly won it. These people, they want to play snooker. Elliot Slester, I played him been at the same events as him in Preston, because he's been down south, and on his way back he stopped in at Preston and stopped in for a pro-am. These guys are not scared of a bit of travelling. So let's get your pro-am events, get them spread out all over the country. Get it franchised out, if you like. Teach people how to do it. It's not that difficult, is it?
No, I'd like, touching on it, Michael, you said there, I mean, looking for a club. I'd love to get a club around the Sheffield, Leicester, Sheffield area. I'd love to find a club, that can provide us with 4 good match tables. And, that would be really, really it for me if I could find one up there. It's very difficult to find clubs, and some of the best clubs are actually up there. But obviously, I can appreciate why a lot of clubs don't want to get too much involved with the platform. But if you're just holding a back-to-back pro-am event there once every other month, it does nothing but promote the club. A lot of the clubs think I'm just laying in my pocket, and they're sort of thinking, what do we want him for when we can do it ourselves? Well, go ahead and do it then. Just go ahead and do it. I come up there and spend 60, 70 quid with a diesel and 60 quid a night for the hotel, and spend a bit of money in your club. I drive back, just cover my expenses. It's okay. But as I said earlier, it's not the reason why I do it. I do it for the players. I do it when I can't do it. And I don't do it every week because I can't do it every week. I have to work for a living like everybody else does. I have to do other things. But I think the clubs, I can see where the clubs are coming from when they say, we're not paying somebody to come in. We're not paying a guy like Dave Lewis to come in and run a tournament, or it's their decision, and I completely and totally respect that. But for clubs who are up and coming, I can't think it'd be nothing but a good thing.
We can do. There's definitely a call for pro-ams. We just need to get people who are all on the same wavelength. Yeah. Get them in the events, get people going to the events, and they'll be back, because when people say there's not the pro-ams that there used to be, well, there could be. No reason why there couldn't be. There's not as many clubs, but there's enough clubs. There's enough clubs to have. There's
enough clubs, and for some of the clubs there, Michael, who obviously it's going to be a really tough year for a lot of clubs to open up again and try and get back to normal. Clubs should be looking at options, different ways to look at different types of income, ways of supplementing income from the club, not just bringing junior clubs in, junior events in, and getting coaches in. There's other ways they can reach out for other businesses who can get involved with the clubs. There's many, many different things they can do, and if some of the clubs can afford it, some of the clubs can't afford it. If some of the clubs can afford to maybe improve a couple of their tables and hold events like mine, then I'm there to help you. You don't have to bring me in. I'm there to help you advertise these competitions, as is Michael. So if you might want to improve, one of the things that I want to do at the Barrett's Club in Northampton is to get a couple of the professionals in there to get involved with coaching. And I mean, this is I don't know whether you know the clubs. A lot of you know the club already, but it's a massive, massive club. The snooker area is massive. It has huge potential for maybe just improving a couple of the club tables, just improving the cloth and the pockets and the cushions. Michael, we'll probably have a video on this one day. You take an old club table, you can turn it around. We talked about this on the video feed. There's a lot you can do with a very old snooker table or a club table that's in an awful state. There's a lot you can do to the pockets and the cushions just to improve it and turn it into a match fit cloth. It doesn't have to be a star table. It can be just a general club table. It could be. So there's lots of things clubs could do to improve and look forward and maybe, taking themselves away maybe for, if they're a big snooker club, they can look at perhaps bringing other sporting activities into the club. They can rent out rooms. There are some of the smaller clubs have got space. They've even got space for mini gymnasiums, meeting rooms, conference facilities, training areas for local businesses to use, or who can incorporate their businesses in a sports club. There's lots of different things, and this is what I would like to think that some of these clubs could do at the minute. They can prepare themselves, they can think ahead, and they can do lots of things. But they've got us. Obviously, they've got us to speak to about that. Anyway,
yeah.
Right. Listen, we've been going for 90 minutes. Do you know what I could have been doing, Michael, in 90 minutes? I could have watched the movie. I had to listen to you for 90 minutes. I mean, listen, I'm getting in there first before you start working on me, okay? I had to put up with you for 90 minutes, and I was only expected to come on for an hour. So why did you have to go on for so long?
Because you stayed awake. If you'd have fallen asleep, maybe. You must have been interested.
Right, guys?
I think the rest of them, but yeah, I mean, there's so much we could talk about. But there's some of the comments that are on there. There's some people do. I've got text coming in that I can't possibly read out. There's some interesting stuff going on, and I think everybody wants the same thing. We want amateur snooker back up and running properly. That's all we want, really.
Well, look, listen. If we want to start these rolling events, these bigger events for players, and we'll see how the first one goes and how long it takes. Get the players settled in a little bit with that, because some of the guys are a little bit concerned about when we're going to get up and running again and where we're going to be playing these. Guys, just shut that aside, okay? I'll take care of that. That's what I do. So we'll have the facilities to play when we can play these matches. When I do a draw and when we can play these matches, we will play them, okay? We will get playing them eventually. It's not going to last forever. We've had 1 million vaccines that have been dished out in the last week, Michael. 1 million vaccines. I don't know how many people. How many have you got yours yet? You son of a bitch. Listen, we've got a vaccine out in the week. Old people like you are going to get the vaccine. I know. And you are old, by the way. And so, you need the vaccine. I'm not going to get the vaccine because I'm young. I'm a young man, so, it's obviously it's going to take a little bit of time, and I'm prepared to wait. But listen, the vaccine's out there. How many people's in the UK, Michael? Is it 70 million? 70 million people in the UK?
Something like that.
Give or take a few people that shouldn't be here. Probably like me. But listen, there's about 70 million people in the UK. We're getting 50,000 plus infections a day that we know of. It could probably be double that. It could be 100,000 infections a day, and we're going back March with a new variant. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to actually sit down and work out that could be, that's quite a few million already who may have been infected. I know there's a lot of people out there that think that this thing doesn't exist. Wake up, okay? It does exist, okay? And just a little bit of information for some people. This may interest some people. I was speaking to a neighbor of mine yesterday who told me about he's an older guy. He told me about his son and his whole family being infected in March last year. All 4 of them and his family got coronavirus, and they had very few symptoms. They had the cough then, and it didn't really affect the kids that much, but they've just been diagnosed with a new variant. So you can get, guys, you get this virus again. All right. Some of you think because you get it, you can't get it again. So, we've got the vaccinations. They're going to get rolled out there, and they will, and they'll be pushed out there in the millions in just a few weeks. But this virus, this new variant, can get you again. So that whole family are currently isolating with COVID-19 again for the next 10 days or whatever. So, I mean, you can catch it again. It's not going away. It's affecting all of us. But we all got to be positive, got to move forward. And as soon as we can get things up and running, we're going to do that. So I hope this has answered some of those questions. Anything you want to say, Michael, before I cut you off?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready for another cup of coffee now.
Michael, you're giving me a terrible headache. I need a glass of wine. I'm about to make a video called to Finland at 8:30, and I'm just about going to make it. You haven't even given me time to get a cup of tea or drink a glass of wine. Next time, don't do this to me. Can we keep it down to an hour?
Yeah, I promise.
Thanks for that. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me and Michael. I'm going to bring Michael back in about 10 weeks because it's going to take me that long to get over this one. So we'll be back next week. We'll have probably Chris Henry, actually. Chris is going to come in. Chris gives me probably more of a headache than him or Sean Murphy does, so we're going to get more professionals coming on. We're going to get people like Michael and Chris coming on. Myself and Chris are going to do some more coaching stuff. We're going to put some stuff in your head. I'm going to have a little chat with Chris about that through the week, and we shall be in touch. So have a very positive feeling, man. Have a great week, and all the best to all of you in the new year. Michael, say you again. Michael.
Same here.